All right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos. The Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, support, or do anything you can to help us out here at the Lakers Fast Break. And my guest, awesome network, the Off the Ball Network, which I'm going to show you right now at offtheballnetwork.com. It is truly appreciated. Well, he's returned once again. We had a great conversation before. He's back again from New York, New York. You know what? I did an awful British accent on my latest PCC Multiverse, so I'm not sure if I really want to go to New York, man. New York, New York. So see, okay, I think I shut off everybody there from New York listening. Now I'm going to get a whole bunch of hate mail. Please, I know it's bad. But I'll tell you what, it's great to have him back on the program again. He's an awesome guy, and you got to check out not only his Off the Ball podcast, but again, his entire network of programming he has available on the offtheballnetwork.com site. I'm showing everyone right now on Facebook Live a ton of stuff there. In fact, they're doing a deep dive into the NBA draft, and also the way too early conference rankings are already out. But you know what? It's not too early anymore. In fact, with the way the system is set up right now, nothing is way too early if you're going to go ahead and start playing once again at December 22nd. But it is a good man indeed. Please follow everything that he does on the Off the Ball Network. It is Chris Lebron. And Chris, welcome back to the program.
Gerald, thank you. I'm excited to be back on, and thank you for that great intro. I really appreciate it.
Doing over 1,000 podcasts. Hopefully I've got those intros now, but I always want to make my guests feel special as always, because they're hard at work doing their own thing. And I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to not only check out the stuff that we do, but obviously the stuff that you do as well. So
yes,
I've checked out before all the great stuff that you've done. And it's just, you've got a great lineup of stuff. I always love your live drafts that you have. So I know that that's something that's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people out there if they check it out. But I want to go ahead, speaking of drafts, and get into it right now with the NBA draft, because lo and behold, in a few days, the NBA draft is coming around, plus free agency right behind it. So we've got to, people talk about that way too early. You got to go ahead and talk to Stephen Gillespie and tell him it's not way too early, man.
No, yeah, it's definitely not too early. It's crazy. It's in a crazy year for basketball and everything.
Absolutely. Obviously, I'm very blessed to go ahead and be a fan of the Los Angeles Lakers, which did win the World Championship. And
congratulations on that. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. As someone who grew up a couple blocks away from the Forum, actually, I was born a couple blocks away from the Forum and lived nearby it most of my young life. I'm so happy and thrilled for the organization. It's such a great thing for them, and to be tied 17-17 with the Celtics obviously is good for conversation when you're having against Boston Celtics fans.
Exactly.
But your situation in New York, being a Knicks fan, and I know you're a heavy Knicks fan, I think things are turning around a little bit in your direction, because you've got Leon Rose there. And before we get into the draft and free agency, I think things are really looking bright for the Knicks, because, again, talent-wise, no, it's not there yet. But the staff in place, Thibodeau, we'll see if he doesn't work his players to death. Maybe he's learned some lessons over the course of his past coaching gigs, but he is a defensive dynamo, and I will give him props on that. So defensively, you're going to be a lot better. Yes. But what is it about the hiring of Leon Rose that really should get New York Knicks fans excited?
I mean, he's different, right? He's not your typical GM, front office guy. And, obviously having the agent background, that definitely is intriguing, and it's worked. We've seen Bob Myers and of course your Lakers with Rob Pelinka. It's worked in the NBA, right? And I know it could be scary because he doesn't have the experience and all that. But, when you don't have experience, you have to put people around you who have experience and know what they're doing, right? And he's done that. He's definitely done that. with the numerous hires he's had, and Worldwide West, Walt Perm, and there's a bevy of guys that he's put around them to have success. Kept Scott Perry around, who's to me got a bad rap the last 2 years with the previous regime and all that. And I believe Scott Perry knows what he's doing. He has a great history going back from Detroit, Orlando, has done some good things. So giving him, keeping him around, and just like I said, just putting good people around him that can help him through this process, right? Yeah, and I think what people get excited about is, yes, we all know that, like, as Knicks fans, and we've been, with Phil Jackson and Isaiah Thomas and all these big names, and his relationship with players. I think that should get fans excited. Yes, like I said, like it could be scary too because we've been through this before. But the connections he's had with some great players, and just I think that really excites Knicks fans, and it just feels different from all the people I talk, that cover the Knicks and all that. They sense that too, that it's just different. There's a different feel. There's not that there's just not that bad vibe you get, and with this front office so far, you kind of feel like they know what they're doing, and they know they have the vision, and they feel like they can execute it and bring this team back to relevance, and so it definitely has a lot of Knicks fans more optimistic than pessimistic. So it's going to be interesting to see how they execute the draft, free agency, and just how they go about, the rebuilding this team. Because to me, the NBA is better when New York, Boston, LA, Chicago, those staples, those big markets are better. And Boston's better. Your Lakers, both LA teams are better, in good shape. The Lakers just won a championship. Chicago seems like they're on the come up. Now we got to get New York and they'll come up too. So there seems to be a lot of optimism with New York fans, but we still got to wait and see because we've been burned before, so we still have that, we still have that feeling of past. But it's definitely a lot of optimism with in New York right now.
I think the key right there, you said at the very beginning, Worldwide West is one of the major additions to the executive board, which I think is a key because he was the right-hand man for Leon Rose at CAA, and he is a widely respected individual with the players. And I think that's the key going forward for bringing in free agents and bringing in talent to the team. I've heard rumors, and I know you've heard those same rumors, that the team is going to be leaning towards, and I think this is not a bad idea, buying bad contracts, getting trade assets, getting more assets early on, and going the route of, we're going to have a little bit of harsh times early, but once those contracts come off the books, your salary cap is a lot better, and obviously your draft, you've got a whole bunch of draft picks and a lot of trade assets to go on top of it. Because if you become the dumping ground for just a year or two of bad contracts, you can accrue a lot of assets. So the rumors out there, are you hearing the same thing? I think you are.
Yeah. There's a lot of Westbrook rumors, there's Oladipo rumors. We definitely hear it, and especially with the Westbrook, that seems like the one that can has the most legs out of it. It's I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because
I wouldn't take him though unless you had a lot of draft picks, and Houston doesn't have that many assets outside of Westbrook.
And that's the thing is like that whatever they have, they don't have much. So why that doesn't really excite me because in order to take down a contract, you're gonna have to you have to give up enough some assets, some picks for us to be able to want to bring back that big contract of Westbrook and all that. And the fit is kind of weird because we got we don't have a lot of talent, but still you want to build with RJ Barrett and stuff, and the fit doesn't seem like he's a very ball dominant. Like he doesn't play off the ball, no pun intended. He doesn't play off the ball and all that. He strictly plays point guard, has the ball in his hand, so the usage rate is there. And obviously he's still a tremendous player. Don't get me wrong, like. This season I think he averaged 27. He averaged 27 points a game. I mean, obviously the triple doubles, the previous 3 years MVP. But I don't know if our as Knicks fans, yes, we want to get back to the playoffs, but is being an 8 seed or fighting to be an 8 seed something that is going to really excite you. Yes, it's going to feel better because you haven't made the playoffs, but like I think we want more than just being an 8 seed, right? You want to
Yeah.
be able
Being fodder for Milwaukee really doesn't help you. Look at Orlando.
yeah,
They've been fodder for
exactly,
Milwaukee. Yeah.
exactly, right. That Orlando's in the spot where they may win a game. They win a game every year as an 8 seed, but they you don't see that. Yeah, it's just. And I've always
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, and I've always said, like, do you really want to be in that middle, like where Orlando is, like constantly like stuck in the middle, like you don't know where to go? Like, how do we get to that next step where we're a top 4 seed and we're getting to the second, conference finals, or we can just be cool with being an 8 seed and that or in Orlando that might be cool down there, but I know in New York that's not going to fly. It would be fine for a year because you haven't made the playoffs 7 years, but after that it's like, okay, guys, let's go. Let's. And this happened years ago when we first got Carmelo, right? I mean, the first year they were a 6 seed. They I believe they got swept by Boston. And the next year, they lose in 5 as an 8 seed, and then they take that step and be a 2 seed, and then they go back. So, it's a position where yes, not make the playoffs, right? You just want to know how it feels to be in the playoffs, but do you want to just be an 8 seed, and all that? And so that's going to be tough. Obviously, you add Westbrook, he's going to bring energy and all that. But
I don't have enough. I don't think you still have enough.
they don't have. We don't have enough pieces around him.
Yeah.
For
Chris Paul
to take
though.
that.
Chris Paul might be better, or Oklahoma City has a ton of assets.
Yes.
So if you want draft picks, they will give you draft picks because they have 500 draft picks coming over the next 10 years. So
exactly, right. From that Clippers trade, I mean, they definitely
and Houston.
That's a way better option than trying to get Westbrook. Even though Westbrook is still still has a lot of good years left, and Chris Paul, he's going to be 36, and he's getting older. He has all the injuries, but the Knicks are going to want to accumulate picks and attach picks to go with that huge contract you're taking on. So I rather, I'm not crazy about either. I rather just let's see how we do with the young guys and just build, and then go that way. But the Chris Paul stuff, to me is more intriguing than the Westbrook stuff. For me, as far if they were to make a deal, just like you mentioned, that getting back some assets, some more draft picks that can help us in the future.
You talked about building through the draft. You talked about building with your young players, and the draft is coming up, like I said, here in a few days. I wanted to ask you this. You're sitting at number 9 right now, your team, number 9, the New York Knicks. 8. Okay, 8.
Yeah,
My bad. Off the top of my head, I was like, 8 or 9? 8.
Yeah,
8. Because
Washington's 9.
Yeah, Washington's at 9, and then you got Phoenix at 10.
So
at number 8, where you see yourself sitting, I hope to goodness gracious that you will not go ahead and trade up in a draft that's kind of weak just to go after Ball. I know he's electric. I know he's right now number 1 on my big board, but I'm not sure if he's the type of individual you go ahead and trade the farm for just to go ahead and move up 7 slots. There still will be someone decent when it comes around at your time at number 8. Do you agree or?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then I've hearing the rumors of Killian Hayes possibly getting to the Knicks at 8 excites me so much because he's my number 1 player on my board. I just love what he does, his playmaking, his ability to score, get in the paint. I love, and the defensive potential to me is there. I think the 3-point shooting people worry about, I think that can improve in the league. He just
because he's I think an 80% free throw shooter.
He's a good That's a good indicator for a lot of that's a good indicator. If you're a good free throw shooter, you can definitely improve on your 3-point shot. So he shoots around high 70s, 80s, so that's good. So he'd be able to get to the hole and hit his free throws, which is something the Knicks need because the free throw shooting wasn't great this year. And, so that's something, that I think would be great for New York if he's there or even if he's, if he's past Chicago, because I've heard Chicago too is in on him. I think the Knicks may even try to trade up a few spots to get him if they think he could be the guard of the future. Because to me, you know, it's always best player available. But to me, you got to come out with a point guard, whether it's him or a Kyra Lewis Jr. or a Tyrese Halliburton. I feel like the Knicks at the 8th pick, or they move up a spot or two, have to come away with one of those three guys. I think they come out with one of those three guys. I really like, all three of those fits with RJ Barrett. To me, the Knicks need to move up, play faster style. RJ Barrett is great in transition, likes getting to the hole, get him easier shots. So to me, they got to find a way to get one of those point guards. To me, those are the top 3 point guards. Even Cole Anthony too. I really like too this game. I know people aren't as high on him because they see the shooting percentage and they just get scared. But to me, he didn't have a great team. In North Carolina, they struggled with spacing and all that. Didn't have a lot of pros around him, and he has the pedigree, right? His dad's Greg Anthony. I trust that. A lot. So to me, the Knicks at 8, if they stay put, if the dream scenario, if Hayes is there at 8, if he drops, I run to the Zoom podium and tell Adam Silver we're taking Hayes. But if he's not there, and I don't think he'll be there because I think he's a tremendous talent, and I think Chicago might be looking at him and take him. To me, Kyra Lewis, if he's there at 8, I think he will be at 8. He's a top 5 guy for me personally, and he's moved up the boards a lot. To me, you go take Kyra Lewis, fast point guard, like I said, up tempo, playmaking, improve from freshman to sophomore year. Has proved his shooting and all that. To me, that'd be great. But Halliburton, to me, point guard. Got to get one of these point guards because to me, they don't have that player on their roster right now that can be really dynamic. And so to me, get that. You pair him up with RJ Barrett and you play pick and roll with Mitchell Robinson. To me, that makes you automatically better right there alone. And then obviously continue to build with pick 27. And then, I think they got 38 too. And then, make a couple moves of free agency and see what you do. But then you get one of those guys, you're moving in the right step, with the Knicks as far as getting better for next season.
One of the things that's been proposed out there is Golden State at number 2.
Yes.
And talking about a package deal, which would include a number 2 pick, most likely Andrew Wiggins, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But, New York can absorb the contract on that. But also the number 1 pick for Minnesota, I think, would be next year as well. That's been packaged in regards to New York for the number 8 pick, Mitchell Robinson, and may or may not be RJ Barrett. Would you take that trade? I'm not as high on RJ as you are, so I would actually do the deal because next year's draft class, as you know, is loaded, and having Minnesota pick in a Western Conference murderer's row because they're not going to really get that high this year, no matter who they draft or who they trade for. I would really be enticed by that. I would go for it personally.
That's tough. That's
because Mitchell is due for extension. Just
exactly.
To let you know.
Yeah. And I know he's due for an extension, and the Knicks are going to have a decision whether they're going to pay him long term. And he's definitely an intriguing prospect. And I know a lot of Knicks fans really love Mitch and think he's untradeable as far as that. If the right deal is there, I wouldn't mind trading because he still has a lot of things to work on. But any deal with RJ Barrett would be tough for me personally. I know people are scared for it's just projecting RJ Barrett in the future to see if he's going to take that next step and be an all-star type player. I know people are worried about his shooting and all that, but that'll be tough, man. That's tough to do that with RJ. I feel like that's our guy, and I really want him to be a part of this. But. I don't know if they're entertaining all that, getting the number 1 pick and getting more picks for next year. I know the next 2 drafts, getting picks for the next 2 drafts is important, but we don't know, right? We don't know how things can happen. We get the picks from Minnesota, and somehow Minnesota takes off, and they're a playoff team, and then it's like,
I don't know about that. That's going to be hard.
I know
the West is loaded. the
I
top
know, I
six in
know.
the East, top 6 or 7 in the East is really stacked, and the top 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 in the West are really going to be hard to go, especially if Phoenix upgrades too as well. That throws
Phoenix
a
is good,
lot
yeah.
of roadblocks in front of
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
For a team that doesn't really have any type of defensive stopper out there, that's going to be a tough deal for Minnesota to go ahead and
Yeah.
climb up. I would be really interested. RJ, like I said, you're in love more with him than I am. I see a lot of his. He's young, so you got to go ahead and watch him develop a little more. His volume, his shot selection is not there yet. The percentages obviously dictate that it's not a pretty sight right now. He's not at Kevin Knox level. Let's not even go there. But he is someone that does still have a bright. You see flashes. You do see
Exactly. Right.
flashes with him, but it's come to the point where do you see enough to go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to make him a foundational piece going forward? And that's the question I'm sure Leon Rose is asking himself at
There are a
this
lot of
point in
tough
time.
decisions. A lot of tough decisions because you got the projectings, right?
Yeah.
It's hard, and it's hard to do that because you didn't see obviously the season, and it's crazy because he was playing well before the shutdown, right? He was averaging 17 and a half, 45% shooting, free throw shooting was improved, everything was improving. So it would have been great to see continuation and see his progression. So it's unfortunate that everything got cut short with the pandemic and all that, but it's tough to see if I think those are real things they're thinking about. Is RJ Barrett going to be that guy? Because if he's not that guy, then they have to really think about, because there's no one else on that team that
Yeah.
has the potential to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of decisions are going to be made around, is RJ that dude? So, and that's tough to project because yes, like you said, he struggled, didn't shoot well and all that, but they also have to look at, well, the previous regime did not put a lot of good pieces around RJ to be successful too, right? They did not have spacing, a lot of non-shooters, and when you put a guy who is a non-shooter around a bunch of guys who are non-shooters, things aren't going to go well. So
Yeah.
if they can figure out if he projects and then put some guys around him, and just to me, I would stick with RJ, put some shooters around him, and then you can get a better feel of what he is, going to be as a player moving forward. Because last year was tough because, like I said, they just didn't have a lot of good players around them. So if you get some good draft picks, get some guys who could shoot the ball in off season, and if he's the same player or worse, then you can have a better feel and be like, okay, we got to figure out who's our, we got to find a franchise type player, and that's probably have to be via free agent, via trade, or if you get a high pick, we got to take a guy, and that's going to be our guy. So they have some interesting moves, but to me, I go with RJ. Let's do this one more year, figure and put better players around him. Maybe we can get a better feel of how he is. Because to me, he's a great playmaker. And he could do things. I know, and the shooting was improving before the shutdown. So I'm maybe it's the Nick fan in me that just wants him to be great so bad because we saw this with Porzingis and then boom, he's gone. And you don't want that to happen where he goes somewhere else and he's the guy there. So it's just maybe that's a part of me that just wants him to stay here and let's just see if he can be that dude because he wants it, right? He has that New York City mentality. He wants to be great here. He wants to be a part of the Knicks are back. So maybe that's my heart talking, but I do feel like I would keep him. Don't unless it's like a crazy deal where James Harden type where you're getting Harden or something like that. Then he's like, all right, I'm sorry, RJ, but
So not even the number 2 pick. The number 2 pick.
in this year's draft, I don't know. I wouldn't do it for this year's draft.
And I'm throwing you out a Minnesota pick as well. The Minnesota pick.
Yeah, but like with the Knicks' luck, that like I said, Minnesota makes the playoffs, and then the pick means nothing. That'll be the Knicks' luck, and then we turn RJ. He's great.
All right.
It's just we've been burned before, Jared. It's just like
yes,
that.
I know.
It's just, if we didn't have the history of all the bad trades and all this happening, maybe I would be like, let's take that shot. But our luck, RJ goes, and takes Minnesota and make the playoffs, and that pick means nothing, or with Golden State, and it just means nothing, and we're back to square one. It's like I don't want to be back to square one. That's awful. My heart can't take no more 60 loss seasons and not getting the top pick in the lottery like last year. I can't do it no more. I want to be where you guys are at. I want to taste champagne. So it's just I just want this team to get back to being competitive and respected. This team's been disrespected, because of all the nonsense and a lot of the off the court stuff. So I just want to get this team to be a respectable where free agents and players gonna want to come here, right? They're gonna want to be like, okay. The Knicks, we don't want to go to Brooklyn. We're going to go to the Knicks, right? We want guys like Durant to want to come to the Knicks, right? We have to give them reason to want to come here. It just can't be flashing, bright lights, 7th Avenue, 34th Street, you're playing in New York City. That just can't be the pitch no more because guys don't care because they can make money wherever, right? So if you put around a good franchise, put some good players, that's what players want. And then you can bring, okay, with the winning and all that, now everything else comes in, and now you can make even more money with endorsements and all that. So they just got to do that and get back to that mentality because just big lights, nobody cares about that anymore.
Well, the thing is, I know it starts with Leon Rose at this point because he's going to have to do a major sell job to not only to the fans out there but also the players, because as long as you have Dolan in charge, that's going to be a detriment. But Leon Rose is a step in the right direction to sort of cancel that out. And we have seen that pattern like you're talking about with Pelinka, and also as well what we saw in Golden State where an agent comes to light. So I'm hoping for success for your team. I'm hoping for that type of progression that you want to see. Because, yeah, like you said, the NBA is so much better if the Knicks are better.
Exactly.
And I wanted to ask you this before we head on out. I want to ask you this. NBA free agency right after, because you're getting hit. Wham, wham, draft. Wham, free agency.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. This is just
I love
okay.
it though.
Yeah, and then training camps like almost a week later.
Exactly.
That's just
everything.
Wham.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it.
So I want to talk to you about this free agency. Is there anybody that the Knicks are going for? We'll talk about the Lakers in a sec because I know people are listening to this like, where's the Lakers? It's the Lakers show. Yes, we'll talk about the Lakers in a sec here. But if you're talking about the Knicks, obviously not getting the top of the line free agents are going to be happening right now for you guys because of where you guys are at in the standings. But is there anything that you could possibly target, because you do have cap space, you do have money to spend, and if nobody's going to be sending deals your way or dumping salaries your way and giving you those prime assets we talked about at the front of the show, where do you think they might lean at free agency? And please, for the love of God, do not tell me a power forward.
Not the power forwards they're like going after.
No, I mean they only have 5 of them, so
we have enough of those guys, So, but a stretch forward would be something that they like a Bertans or Joe Harris or someone like that. To me, would be a good fit for the Knicks. Like you said, like we talked before with RJ, adding shooters to me is behind. Getting a point guard who can move this team up and down the court. Getting shooting is number 2 right behind it. You got to add shooting to this team. This is not a good shooting team. Must add shooting to this team. I know there's Gallinari. There's rumors of him possibly coming back. I don't know if the money, if they're willing to give him a long-term deal. And with that,
I think at his age, though, he wants to win. He's indicated that he wants to go to a winning team.
Yes. So, there's going to be, stuff like that too. So,
I could see him taking a pay cut.
Yeah.
Just to go on a winner.
Yeah, exactly. So, I've heard that, but I don't think that's that he'll come here. But to me, like Bertans, Joe Harris, guys like that, the Knicks should be trying to target. And, and those guys are going to be hot commodities because what teams like that love, teams love players like that, guys like that.
Exactly.
And we saw, what
Morris.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's another guy they could bring back, right? They traded him to the Clippers, they could bring him back. And we saw the shooting Duncan Robinson in the playoffs, right? Guys like that are valuable. Contavious Pope for you guys. That's valuable player, right? He's gonna command money. He's gonna get paid. Probably
Yes.
make a few extra $1 million because of what he did in the finals, right? And his versatility on defense too helps too when you're a 3-and-D guy too. So that's even more valuable. So to me, the Knicks need to target guys like that can shoot the ball, and also in the draft too. There's a lot of good shooters in this draft too, especially late that they can get. So to me, the Knicks need to come out of this. I know I've heard Fred VanVleet too as a possibility. I like him as a leader. He could play on and off the ball too, which is good because I think RJ could need the ball a little bit more to be a playmaker too. I don't know about the money and the long term and the if they think he's a true fit because he was in Toronto and he was playing around good players. So when you go to the Knicks, it's different, right? And when you're making more money than he was, he'd go from making $8 million to making $20 million. You're going to be looked at different because you're expected to take that next step. And can he do that? So that's going to be an interesting if they dabble into the Fred VanVleet sweepstakes. But it's not really a lot of big free agents they can go out, which I'm actually happy that this is the case. So the media can relax on us and not get on us because obviously there's no really. I mean, Anthony Davis is most likely going to re-sign with the Lakers. So and Brandon Ingram was someone I would like, but he's restricted, and so whatever offer sheet he's got, Pelicans most likely are going to match it. So there's no one really else out there. But like I said, a Bertans or Joe Harris, guys like that, the Knicks should try to add, get some shooting, and like I said, also in the draft target shooting. So just get some shooters around RJ and whoever's the point guard for this team next year, and just I think that'll be a good step forward for the Knicks.
If you guys didn't have so many power forwards, I would tell you Christian Wood.
Christian Wood is another good player, but he's similar to a lot of the guys, and I know he's an ascending player, and he played good the last 2 years in Detroit, but I feel like he would just, and he improved the shooting too, but I feel like he fits in all those. That he's kind of similar to what we have. So if they can get him on a cheap rate, maybe. But to me, try to go after Bertans is like my number one target.
Yes.
I'm big Bertans. Every time he came to the Garden, it just seemed like he light us up. So I'm big a Bertans guy. I don't know if he wants to come here, because we're not, we're not we're probably not gonna be a playoff team, but. We'll see how the market is for him because I'm sure it's going to be he's going to be in demand because he's a tremendous shooter and his scoring. He improved as a scorer, just a whole line basketball player. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but add shooting. That's point guard. Finding your point guard of the future. Hopefully, or just an upgrade. Just trying to upgrade a point guard and add shooters, and I think. That'll help you going. It's for next season where you got a bigger crop of free agency, drafts better, and things a little bit more stable in the world where you can get a better feel of the salary cap and all that stuff. So I think those few things and nothing drastic. Just don't do nothing crazy where you're giving guys 4 years, $80 million or anything crazy. Don't do the typical Knicks stuff that balls on that. Let's but I'm confident in Leon and he knows what he's doing. And he has good people around him to get the job done. So I'm optimistic. With a little bit of please. But I got faith in Leon right now. So I trust that he's gonna make the right moves.
Well, there you go. Once again, I'm speaking to Chris Lebron from the Off the Ball Network. Check out everything that he's doing today and his entire team of guys that are actually going ahead and covering all the entire sports world at offtheballnetwork.com. Nice. You're looking at the entire site right now, all the options that are there for you from college basketball, college football, fantasy football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, pro wrestling, and more. It is offtheballnetwork.com. See all the writers on the podcast. It's just this great place to go, an experience you need to go ahead and check out if for any sports fan that's out there. That is offtheballnetwork.com. Yes. But before we head on out, my friend, I got to go ahead and talk a little Lakers. So before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and ask you this. If you're sitting right now in the room with Rob Pelinka and he's asking for advice on what type of small moves, large moves, or any type of moves you make before you head into training camp in 3, 2-3 weeks now, 18 days. I want to hear your thoughts on that, and where would you lean to when free agency hits? Or do you see them trading up? I don't see them trading up per se, but I think a free agency is a little bit better swallow for them at this point in time.
I think they're in a position too. Just add some more shooters, get some younger guys. Maybe get a younger big. Because they kind of have an older roster.
Yeah.
And so you want to get a little inject some youth into that. Into the bench and all that. And because LeBron is getting older and stuff. So you want to get in some younger guys coming off the bench and all that, and a younger big and all that. But in the draft, there's guys. I think with the Lakers around that late 20s. They can get themselves a good shooter. Like I think a fit would be like a Desmond Bain out of TCU who could shoot, or if Aaron Naismith's there, or a Tyrell Terry type player, Dotson or like a Malachi Flynn, get yourself a younger point guard, that can move and do some stuff, just add a couple young guys, and like I said, add more shooting. LeBron loves his shooters, so. Add guys like that, you got AD, you got LeBron, you guys are fine, as long as you got those two guys, and you just add good pieces like Pelinka just made all the right moves last year, right? He just made so many good low-key moves, and I think that he knows what he's doing, and so if he makes little moves like that, I think you guys will be fine, and you'll be right there contending for another championship, because as long as you got 23 and AD, you're going to be fine, because 23 feels like he's not slowing down. The fact that he's 35, I know everyone says he's 35 a year, so
he's 22. Don't even say that. He's 22.
I don't think we've ever seen something like this in sports, where a guy's 17 years deep into his profession, he's the best player in the sport. So it's remarkable what he's done. So as long as he's healthy, and as long as AD's healthy, and you add a couple guys here and there, I think you'll be fine. And like I said, the draft, there's some good guys that the Lakers can get that can help this team right away too. So that's what's good about where they're sitting, is that there's a lot of good seniors, 3-year guys that can fit right into the Lakers and contribute right away. Like I said, a Bain would be perfect. I think. I talked about this in a lot of draft shows I've done. Bain and the Lakers, and like Bain and like the Nets, to me, are like perfect fits, like match made in heaven. So, if I've mocked Bain to like the Nets a lot, but I've mocked Bain to the Lakers a lot too, because I think the fit is perfect. So if they can get a guy like that, or like I said, Naismith before, or get one of those combo guards later, they'll be sitting pretty. Yeah. And then as far as free agency, try to find shooters, and maybe a big, a younger big. So but the Lakers are sitting fine. Tremendous season, obviously capped off the winning a championship. I mean, kudos to you guys. I'm jealous. I'm super jealous. I want to get there. Listen, you guys did have your struggles, even though I don't feel too bad, because you had a lot of great years even before it, but you had some bad years. I will admit there was some bad years, for the Lakers, and so to come back. That's why as a Knicks fan, you feel optimism, because it can happen, right? Like there was people turning down the Lakers as free agents, and we're talking about top-notch free agents. Like what? Who would ever think people would turn down a chance to be with the Lakers, right? And now that's changed, right? And I believe that can happen with the Knicks. So it gives me optimism that it can happen, right? It really can happen. It's just a matter of putting in the right front office and just putting the right guys around that person, like the Lakers have done with Pelinka, and what Bob Myers has done in Golden State. So it gives me optimism that it can happen with the Knicks. So, but the Lakers, to me, are in good shape. As long as you got 23 at 8 AD, you guys are sitting fine. So, man, kudos, congratulations on that championship. It was a great run too. The tough run, the tough run that you guys battled. Everyone doubting you. It was crazy, because people were like, "All right, Portland's gonna win. Portland's gonna beat them." Shut that down. Denver and all these. Houston wins game. All they're gonna lose. They take care of Houston in 5. Denver coming off 2 straight down 3-1s. They take care of them, and then the Heat. Obviously coming off, beating, having their run, beating Milwaukee, and then coming back Jimmy Butler doing everything possible to try to come back and then shutting that down. So it was a tough way to win, but you guys persevered and you got it. So it gives me optimism to see, hopefully the Knicks can get back and the same way the Lakers have built, the Lakers back to being the Lakers. And you tied Boston, and that's the best thing because now we don't have to hear Boston fans saying they have the most championships. So it's a blessing. The New York Boston rivalry is intense. So the fact that you guys tied it was like, all right. And that was good. We don't got to hear them bragging about they have the most NBA championships, and then I hear about them with the Red Sox. They won so many championships last. The Hawks, all of that. I'm enough. So now that's what I was grateful for. The Lakers tying that and ending all that talk.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm hopeful for the day the Knicks and the Lakers can meet in the finals. That would be a great day indeed for the league and I know, obviously, both you and I. So I'm hoping for that day down the road in the not too distant future. But before we head on out, my friend, I want you to go and give the hard sell. It's that hard sell time. So you got to go ahead and do that pitch out there. Everybody who's watching and everybody who's listening, why they need to check out the Off the Ball Network.
Yes, so I started the Off the Ball Network like 2.5 months ago. So with a bunch of guys that I've had on my show and really supported my podcast, and so I decided, hey, you guys want to help me build this? So I had a couple guys started off with, and then we found more guys that wanted to be a part of it, and we've kind of built something pretty cool. So it's been fun. Have some great stuff going on in the network, and that's pretty cool. And the podcast is going well too. I'm on Dash Radio now, which is pretty cool. Just to see how far the podcast has gone from even when the last time I talked to you till now, it's pretty wild. So it's cool. And then, like I said, I got my last mock draft show Monday with some pretty good guys. The amount of great draft guys I've had on. I mean, you've had Rafael Barlow on here before. I've had him.
He's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
He's really good, and he's so he knows everything about everyone. So it's so much fun to learn from all these guys and just get to know more about the prospects and all. So I have one coming up Monday night, the last one before the draft. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, we're doing great stuff at the network. Podcast is doing great so far. So man, I can't complain. Everything's going good so far, and basketball's coming right around the corner. So
yep.
That gives me more content to talk about and to produce. So I'm excited. Next week can't come here any faster, and then we get right into finally in a few weeks I finally get to watch my Knicks and see how they look. How they look going into the season. So I'm excited. Everything's going well at the network. Everything's going well with the podcast. So I can't complain, man. It's go on. You can listen to the podcast on any podcast platform you want. It's on YouTube also. Off the Ball Pod. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Off the Ball Network also on all social media platforms you can listen to the exclusive shows we have on Facebook. We produce it on we put it on all the podcast platforms, so you can listen to it there. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. It's been a hell of a ride.
It looks like it indeed. And you got to go ahead and check out everything that Chris is doing today on the Off the Ball podcast, which is available on Dash Radio and also as well wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube, Off the Ball Network, check that out. And of course, offtheballnetwork.com for all and everything sports related. Go ahead and check it out today. Right now, they're heavy into basketball. Check out the upcoming live mock draft that he's going to be doing this week. When this airs on audio, if you're listening, it's going to be airing the same week. So you want to go ahead and check that out because it's heading just before the draft. We're looking forward to the NBA draft, and we're also looking forward to NBA free agency. But Chris, I cannot tell you enough how grateful I am for you stopping by. Once again, I want to bring you back on, obviously, as things start to, just evolve with this crazy season that we're about ready to have once again after a crazy season, which we did have here in 2020.
Exactly.
But I want to wish you and your family continued health, continued safety. Thank you. And I wish everyone out there as well the same. Please be safe, be responsible, and protect others and yourself. But we're hoping that everybody is going to be okay because we've got a lot of basketball to be talking about in the next few days. And we're going to be talking about it not only on the Off the Ball networks, which you got to check out, But we'll be talking a lot of basketball in the coming days right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.